Well, good evening. Call the Ames Area Metropolitan Planning Organization Transportation Policy Committee meeting to order for Tuesday, January 27th. We have two items on the agenda. First is consent, motion approving minutes from our January 13th meeting. Is there a motion? Is there any questions on the minutes? Hearing none, I entertain a motion approving the minutes.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item 2, public hearing. Justin and Kyle, go ahead.
Yep. So
Is that better?
They're on.
They are. We maybe have to.
Try more.
Hello? Oh,
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
Can you hear me now? Ooh, very slow. All right. Sorry.
testing. Okay. So this is for the
I
amendment.
should pull the mic as close as you can, Kyle. Thank you.
So this is the same tip amendment that was presented to the committee 2 weeks ago for electric vehicle charging station by Iowa DOT project, and then a multitude of SIRIDE projects. Since that meeting 2 weeks ago, there's been a 10-day public comment period, and we did not receive any comments on this amendment. So it's the same amendment that was presented 2 weeks ago.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? All right. I declare the public hearing on the amendment to the federal fiscal year 2026 through 2029 Transportation Improvement Program to be open. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to address the committee on this amendment? Seeing and hearing none, declare the public hearing to be closed. And is there a motion on approving the amendment to the 2026-2029 Transportation Improvement Program?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Any policy committee meeting comments tonight?
I have something, Mayor. I would just like to, I know there's not a large audience watching online probably, but I'd like to put in a plea to our state legislature to consider how restrictions on municipal levies and county levies and many of the resources that we now rely on for our transportation programs are being curtailed, or at least under consideration for that. And we need to have money to maintain our streets, roads, to develop new infrastructure, and to keep SIRIDE running. So I just hope that there are those who are listening and paying attention.
Thank you. Any other? All right, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Or second? Second by Mayor Pop. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Call the regular meeting of the Ames City Council for Tuesday, January 27th to order. Good evening, everybody. And we will move into consent. And before we get into that, Sam Brandt, are you in the audience? Yep. You have down, you want to comment on item number 1, which is the motion approving payment of claims. Is that correct?
I was just talking about affordable housing, but I don't know if that's in the agenda at all.
Okay, all right. Thank you for clarification. We'll have you under public forum, which will happen here in a second, okay? Very good, thank you. All right, does council wish to pull any item from consent tonight? Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve consent.
Second.
Roll call.
Betcher,
Aye.
Junk,
Aye.
Corriere, Rollins,
Aye.
Edie Hansen,
Aye.
Garten.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we'll move into public forum. It's time we set aside for comments from the public on topics of city business that are not on the agenda this evening. We will not take any action on your comments. We ask people to keep their comments to 3 minutes or less. And Sam, we'll start with you. You can welcome to come to the podium, introduce yourself, and you can start.
Thanks for having me. My name's Sam Brandt. I've been a resident here at Ames for the last 10 years, 4 years in school and the last 6 living here, both on the rental side as a tenant and now on the other side as a landlord. Been in the real estate business for the last 5 years. And two years ago, I was in the Ames leadership event, which is, everyone knows that, a great program here in Ames. And it brings a lot of community members in together. Nonprofits, churches, private businesses, everything. And one question that continued to be asked is, what are we doing for affordable housing here in Ames? So just wanted to touch briefly on that and offer my perspective, and it might sound a little blunt, but here we go. So affordable housing is no mystery. It's a cost problem, largely driven by ease and hard to make and build and operate housing here in Ames. So just going to share a few facts with you. Roughly from my research, there's about 14,000 rental units in Ames, which is quite a bit. Even smaller regulations compound at scale. You think about $100, which doesn't sound like a lot, but over 14,000 rental units, you're talking about 1.4 million that's lost in the economy that people could be out go spending on their car insurance, going out to eat with their loved ones, whatever. You put that to more at scale, which I think it's probably closer to $1,000 a unit. You're talking about 14 million that's lost to the economy that is at the end of the day pushed down to the bottom end. You know, just like a tariff, who pays for that? It's the end consumer. So on the ownership side, building houses, D.R. Horton, everyone loves them. Some people hate them. You can have your own opinion. But in the Des Moines Metro, you can buy a house brand new for $300,000. In Ames, that's $450,000 to $550,000. Obviously, the product's not the same. I understand that. But your level of buyers and the people that can afford those homes won't be able to do it. I think that's a product that some people might like. As far as active builders in the community, there's 26 active builders in Ames that I'm aware of. In Ankeny, there's 99. Before I even was here, Ames and Ankeny were about the same size. They're not anymore. I'm not here to argue against safety or quality. But to be honest, there's some elements of the rental and building code that just don't make sense. And these increased costs are clearly being pushed down to the tenants and the buyers at the end of the day. We live in a capitalistic society. In every market, including housing, prices come down and it's easier to produce the product. If we want affordable housing in Ames, the fastest lever we can control isn't subsidies or slogans. It's making housing easier to build and operate. If we lower unnecessary barriers, the market will do the rest. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Graham Feibiger, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. If you would mind correcting me for your last name, I would appreciate it.
Yes, it's Feibiger.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My apologies.
Not a problem. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Graham Feibiger. I've been living in Ames for almost 9 years. I really enjoy the amenities that this community has built, and I think that our stewards get a lot of things right, and that's why I really enjoy living here. Last meeting, our mayor asked for ideas of things that could be cut from the budget, and I thought I had an idea. The vendor that we use for our stationary automated license plate reader cameras engages in some very deceptive marketing, and they've changed their service since we've signed our contract with them. So I thought we might.
Graham, would you mind just moving a little closer to the
Sure.
microphone so we can hear you?
Yep.
Thank you.
So I thought we might want to investigate if we really want to keep using this particular company, or if we want to switch to a different one, or if we really need the fixed automated license plate reader cameras at all. The company claims that our data stays local, but in reality, it does get shared with a nationwide network. And the hardware itself, the cameras, are very insecure. Researchers have found 50 different ways to get sensitive data out of those cameras, and that those methods are shared online, so people can, anyone with an internet connection can find that and abuse it. Also, the software that our police department uses to access the data doesn't really have the safeguards to prevent abuses, either from locally or outside Ames. So I think there are a lot of problems with the system that we have, and it doesn't really serve Ames as much as it serves building a national surveillance network. So personally, I would like to see us build our own local network if we want to use that to tackle auto theft and human trafficking and those things. We can do that without having a nationwide network that surveils everyone, even when they're not suspected of a crime. And the way that Flock currently does that likely violates the Fourth Amendment, because it's a warrantless search.
The city of Ames actually doesn't have flock
Yeah.
cameras.
So first of all, I was going to wait till you finish.
Okay.
But you're making an awful lot of assertions, stating facts as if you know this is true.
Mhm.
Is this regarding flock cameras?
Flock cameras, yes.
The city of Ames does not have any flock cameras. We do not have any. at all.
Who owns them?
Iowa State.
Iowa State does.
Oh,
So you're talking to a body that has absolutely no jurisdiction over that whatsoever. Okay.
I'm very sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
That's why I wanted to clarify, and I didn't want
Yes.
to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but the point is, I was going to wait because I think for the people who might be listening and the
Mhm.
media, the assertions are, I believe, inaccurate in terms of the city.
Yes.
And so
Okay,
we
I
don't
agree.
want the people to get the wrong information. So I would encourage you, if you want to reach out to the Iowa State Police Department and or administration, they may be able to talk to you about that. So,
Excellent. Well, I feel even better about Ames now.
well, thank you for coming here and thank you for offering.
What
your
I would
opinion.
add, Graham,
So,
is
Yes.
if you have questions or comments, you can also email the council. So we don't have any way of capturing your contact information just in this exchange. So feel free to email us if you have follow-up questions. That way we can dialogue about these things.
And we in your emails will be referred to people who can accurately answer it versus us trying to, on the fly answer it. So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So anybody else wants to address council tonight? Daryl? You're down for item number 26, or you wanted
I know I wasn't smart enough to operate that iPad, so.
Oh, okay.
So Daryl Veggie, 5527 Irons Way here in Ames. I'd rather be anywhere but here tonight, but I am here hoping to catch a couple of sympathetic ears. Topic is annexation going on up in North Ames. So as I understand it, the Borgenmeyer farm has been annexed, and I think everybody's all happy about that since Rosa's there. The developers got to be happy. The city's happy. And then you want to keep moving on up to the Irons Way. And we're not so happy about that. We'd rather not be annexed. Don't want to be annexed. Feel like we've been forced into it. we had this voluntary annexation form to sign. And if we didn't sign it, then there was going to be some action taken against us with attorneys and stuff. So the bottom line is we would rather not be annexed. Now, I know you can, but again, you don't have to. We're not going to be an island. We're not going to be a peninsula or anything like that. I think you could make some exceptions. We had a nice session with planning and zoning and with public works, and they gave us a couple of options which were directed by the council. I would say those options are bad and worse. It's going to be a lot of land torn up, pavement torn up, lawns torn up. And again, the cost, bad and worse. If I could just kind of peg a number on it, it might be about $35,000 a household to put the sewer in. So I would really rather not have to do that. And I think there are some exceptions that have been made and can be made. So I would kind of beg you to think about some of those. I'm going to point about annexation. If you take a look on South State Street, just south of Highway 30, there's a big peninsula there. It's been there for years. Why hasn't that been annexed? I'm happy for those people that it's not, but why couldn't that be us? We're not even a peninsula. We would just be attached along somewhere. So there's an exception. I would encourage you all to take a look at that. South State Street, just south of Highway 30, it's the Meadow Glen area. It's a nice peninsula in there. The other exception, if you did decide to annex us, which I'm pretty sure that's going to happen, is thinking about the sewer. Again, you've made an exception. You said the houses along 190th Street, there's 3 of them. They don't have to have sewer systems put in. I don't know. Is that just because of the convenience for the city or expense? I don't know what the deal is, but again, an exception. So I will just state, I think the people of Irons Way do not want to be annexed. I wish you wouldn't do it. And I wish you would consider some exceptions either to the annexation or to the installation of sewers. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Anybody else who wants to address council under public forum tonight? All right, we'll close public forum. We'll move on to item number 26. Last week, we had a presentation of our 2026 to 2031 capital improvement plan by staff. And Corey and Nancy, do you have any comments before we open up public input? All right. So this is the time for members of the public to offer input on the capital improvement plan, which was presented last Tuesday night. And the final decision will not be made until February 10th. This is a chance for you to give council feedback. So if anybody wants to address council on this item. All right, seeing none, we'll close public input. We'll move on to item number 27, staff report on Ontario Workforce Housing Subdivision.
This is an item that you referred to us some time ago about a possible infill project along Ontario Road, Ontario and Shoal Road, if you remember the actual site. For the past couple of months, I know the mayor and I have been working with the former president of Iowa State University, Wendell Winterstein, about possibility of them freeing up a lot of land that perhaps they're not using currently, and we could convert to workforce housing. I think everybody agrees that we need more housing of all different price points and in different locations. And one of the priorities of the council was infill. So once again, I think President Winterstein stepped up and made available about 17 acres. It was the former site. We were going to have the Healthy Life Center position there, if you remember. And that would be a project that would have residential units in it. Shoal Road would bisect it as it moves north up to the railroad tracks. The developers, we have 2 local developers who actually bid on that project, and I understood they won the bid and they're in the process of securing ownership. Their plan is to have 25 units on the east side of Shoal Road, single-family detached homes, 84 units on the west side, which would be attached, of which 30 would be owner occupied, and the remaining would be rental units. So the combination would have about 55 owner occupied, combination of detached and attached homes, and about 54 would be rental units. Now, to accomplish this development, one of the requirements will be the developer will have to pave, has to bring it up to city standards, Shoal Road from Ontario up north to the railroad tracks, which is a cost to the developer. What they're seeking from us is an incentive, which would be a TIF rebate, of which they would assume the cost of developing that road, redeveloping or reconstructing that road at city standards. And then they're asking that they be repaid from the increment that's developed in that site, up to the cost of their cost for reconstructing are 10 years, whichever comes first. Now, in return, they're willing to cap the price of residential units on that total development, both sides, to $425,000. Now, that's the maximum. They've indicated they'll work hard on some of the attached homes that come in less, both for rental and owner occupied, but that's the maximum. They're at least trying to cap that, okay? So it's really up to the city council if you want to move forward. There's a number of steps that would be involved here. We laid that out for you. If you have any questions, I think Kelly's here, can answer those questions, how we move forward. We'll have to set up an urban renewal area, enter a development agreement, a lot of approval yet for the master plan, and all that needs to be done yet. But really what you're going to have to decide, I believe, do you believe that that's a project we want, infill project? If you want to give the TIF, do you believe that maximum 10-year payback is the right time limit? Is the maximum cap the right number? And then the mix of rental units. Assuming that it is, then you just instruct us by motion to move ahead with the steps that'll need to set up the development and also move ahead with the proposed incentive, the TIF rebate. Any questions you might have? I think Brenda's here representing developers. She's working with Alliance, is helping facilitate this. I might add that Alliance is willing to step forward in two ways. This will be a residential TIF, and as you know, many times or most of the times, if it's a residential TIF, 50% of the TIF can't go back to the city or the developer repayment. It's got to be set aside for affordable housing, low and moderate income housing. But there's an element in the law which allows the director of the Iowa Development Authority to waive that or reduce that to 20%. She's taken upon herself. They will work to try to get that reduced. If it is reduced, that allows the developer to pay off the TIF quicker because they would get a lot more money than the 20% of the TIF reduced by 20%. 50%. So that would be helpful. And then also she'll help the developer apply for workforce housing credits. And with that, instead of that will help lower the cost too, hopefully below the $425,000 per housing unit on some of those attached units, perhaps. So I don't know if you have any questions. Brenda's representing developers. I'm here to answer any questions, and Kelly can talk about the steps if you need us to.
Thank you. Questions?
I have one question, and it is related to the steps, but you might be able to answer it, Steve.
I'll try.
Step number one is the developer-initiated comprehensive plan amendment from government to either RN2 or RN3. Does the developer decide whether they're going to apply for RN2
Let Kelly
or
answer.
RN3?
Good question.
Are we guiding them on best choices of RN2 or RN3?
Typically, they would request a specific designation, and then you would consent to allow them to apply for it. The differentiation is really going to be whether the maximum density is met for the actual zoning district they would choose between RN2, RN3. I don't know that it's a material difference in how the project actually goes ahead. It just needs to be changed from government to some type of residential designation.
Thanks.
Other questions?
I had just a quick question on number 2, the neighborhood meetings. Do you know how broad they are thinking in terms of the word neighborhood? And for those meetings, a mile away, half a mile away, just trying to get some idea of what they consider neighborhood.
I think our advice was they should look at the notice distance of 400 feet around the property. But there's no specific direction or requirement on how to organize a neighborhood meeting.
Okay. And would we have a chance?
When
maybe
you do the
later?
comp plan amendment initiation is usually when we ask,
Okay,
well, they have to do a neighborhood meeting by the comp plan implementation policy, but that would be a time to discuss what the expectation is.
thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, we'll open up public comment. Brendan, do you want to address council tonight on that? No? Good, all right. Anybody else? All right, close public comment. Any closing questions or discussion? Otherwise, entertain a motion.
Just want to emphasize now, you're not approving anything. You're telling us to move ahead with you like the concept. We're moving ahead and there'll be other decision points, concept approval points, the council will have an opportunity to deal with. And of course, there'll be public, open to the public too, to give feedback.
I
So
would
everyone
move we-
agree? Go ahead.
I would move we move ahead
With step-
as described.
Steps 1 through 7 as
Yeah.
identified. Okay. All right, those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, move on to item number 28, discussion on elements of draft municipal code, chapter 14, human relations regarding civil rights protection for gender identity. And just comments for anyone who's here interested in this. No public input tonight. This is primarily just to give direction to staff on specific directions on this ordinance, and there will be opportunity for public input when an ordinance change comes back. And as Councilmember Garten indicated, we always welcome emails from people too. Good evening.
Good evening. So a little bit of background. On December 9th, 2025, Council directed staff to draft an ordinance adding gender identity as a protected class to City Code. The Ames Human Relations Commission does not currently investigate complaints that use a cooperative agreement with the Iowa Office of Civil Rights. Because gender identity is not protected under state code, the Iowa Office of Civil Rights cannot investigate those specific complaints requiring a local process. The city requested 2024 complaint data from the state, and it has not been received yet. First element, investigating complaints. Option 1, the city manages local investigations for gender identity, while the state continues to handle all other types of discrimination complaints. That process, intake investigation, would be managed by an assistant, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
By an assistant city manager with the city attorney determining if evidence warrants a municipal infraction citation. Option-
One second,
Yes,
You're kind of fading, so maybe.
that's what I thought.
We're having a little problem with our sound system tonight for some reason.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Should I go over the process again?
No.
Okay.
You're fine until just.
Okay. Option 2, the city investigates all discrimination complaints, not just gender identity. And in that process, the city would establish its own administrative investigation process. From 2020 to 2023, there were 7 gender identity discrimination complaints. Staff is recommending that council pursue option 1 and direct intake and investigation to the city manager's office, and the city attorney will determine if there is sufficient evidence to warrant a municipal infraction citation. Staff is not recommending option 2 for several reasons. The resources required to do this work effectively are unknown, but likely greater than option 1. Additionally, the legal department does not currently work on or specializes in discrimination law, and therefore hiring outside legal counsel might be necessary. The second element is municipal infraction penalties. Per the memo from city attorney on December 9th, the council should decide what level the city penalty should be. Option 1 is $750 for the first offense and $1,000 for a repeat offense. Option 2 is $30 for the first offense, $100 for the first repeat offense, and $200 for subsequent repeat offenses. Option 3 is any amount between option 1 and option 2. The current default city penalties of $30 for the first offense and $100 for repeat offenses are considered insufficient to deter discrimination. Staff recommends that council adopt the greatest financial penalty allowed, which is option 1. The third element is mediation. Mediation is a voluntary, confidential process using a neutral third party to resolve disputes without admitting fault. If successful, parties sign a binding agreement and the case administratively closes. Option 1 is to incorporate a formal, voluntary mediation process for parties to resolve disputes before or during an investigation. Mediation is a powerful, efficient tool to resolve disputes, and it reduces the time needed for full investigations. Staff recommends including mediation. Alternatives. The first alternative is to approve option 1, including all 3 elements, investigating only gender identity complaints, adopting the greatest financial penalty allowed for a municipal code infraction, and a provision on mediation. Alternative 2 is to approve other options for the 3 elements, and alternative 3 is to refer back to staff for more information. Based on this information, the city manager recommends that the city council approve alternative 1, adopt option 1 for all 3 elements to allow staff to finalize the draft ordinance.
Thanks, Cassandra. Any comments, Pa or Mark?
No, just tonight we need your direction on those 3 elements.
Thank you. Questions for staff? Any discussion?
I have a question on penalties. So apologies, I should have thought about researching this before tonight. So generally, we want to have parity between similar types of criminal statutes, civil rights statutes. And so would the penalty that's being established in element 2 be commensurate with other civil rights violations in our current municipal code?
Well, in our current municipal code, we don't have any penalties, because we refer everything to the state of Iowa. So it's not a, this would be different because we're enforcing it, so we have to do a municipal infraction. That's how we would go about enforcing it. But the recommendations for the maximum amount in order to deter people from engaging in discrimination. We have a lot of things in the code where, and I didn't prepare for this. I wasn't anticipating this question. I probably should have, but we have various levels of penalties and different things. A whole lot of things are just the standard, $30 penalty, which, isn't very much. But there are some things I know, leaving garbage out in your yard for multiple days, I think it's $500. With the nuisance parties, we were going to set it at the maximum, and I think you were the one who made the motion to reduce it a bit from that. So, and I can't remember what number we set upon, but we reduced it from that. So, my sound go? Oh, there we go. Okay. There are various levels out there. So, the council can choose whatever level they want. Theoretically, the maximum penalty is what gets maximum compliance.
And so I think it's value in comparing an infraction against other municipal infractions in general. Let's say, for example, that a civil rights violation was investigated to the state, say, for example, on a housing issue based on race. And so what would be the potential range of sanctions in that setting?
I'm not sure what the penalties are at the state level. I think most of the time they simply issue a right to sue letter and allow the people to proceed to court, and where the damages can be significant once you file a civil action in court. But I'm not aware that the Civil Rights Commission actually fines anybody. I just don't think they work that way. They may have the authority
That's
to do
my
that.
understanding as well.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
A Google search says that civil penalties for housing discrimination can range from $10,000 for a first offense to $50,000 for multiple violations.
That's under the Iowa code.
That's what it says. Based on Iowa, you'd want to fact check that.
So I'm just offering this as a point of sounding board that we're setting a civil rights violation without considering the potential civil rights violations for other violations, whether it's through the state or municipal code.
But I don't think we can go any higher. This is the maximum.
I don't know that Tim's arguing that we could go higher necessarily.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, you've heard the staff recommendation. Is there a motion on one of the three alternatives?
I'd move alternative 1.
Second.
All right. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carried 5-1. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, before we move on, there was a piece that I had neglected to bring up in our prior discussion, and I feel a bit embarrassed by this. I promise I'll take no more than a minute on this.
Okay.
So it was actually a week or two ago that I was listening to a U.S. Supreme Court case, Little versus Hecox, on whether the court will allow states to restrict sports teams to limit participation of biological males in female sports. And I don't know why I never thought about this, but Iowa has a similar code section. And I'm a little embarrassed that I didn't raise this. In my defense, I was focusing on the Senate file that was passed, and I didn't even think about this. So this is House File 2416 that was signed to law and is effective, and it similarly defines sex as a person's biological sex, and only females may participate in sports for females. And so this goes to the issue of sort of this threshold question of whether states have given up the ground in terms of home rule on gender identity when not only do they define male and female in Chapter 4 of the code, but they have a clear prohibition of men who are born biologically men identifying as women and participating in women's sports. So it's another really important argument for council to consider as far as whether we have the legality of taking up this issue. So that was all I want to say. I'm not trying to relitigate this tonight, but I wanted council to have the benefit of that concern.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on. Item number 29. Hearing and rezoning a property west of intersection of Harrison Road and Welbeck.
Good evening. As you all recall, this item, sorry, is that better? Great. Council has previously considered this development. It is city surplus land, so council did go through a process of determining that it was in line with both your goals for increased housing supply and housing diversity, as well as in line with goals from Plan 2040 for affordable or infill housing. So we did enter into a purchase agreement with the developer who's bringing these plans forward. That's contingent on them receiving state workforce housing tax credits, which they've received, and entitlements, which are approval of the rezoning, final plat, preliminary plat, and a major site development plan. And that purchase agreement was for up to 12 owner-occupied single-family homes. So what you see tonight are 12 single-family attached homes. So they're configured as townhomes. They have submitted a rezoning that includes a planned unit development. The planned unit development is really essential to facilitate kind of the development as we've discussed, because it allows certain deviations in our development standards, such as garage face setback reductions or lot size reductions and side setback reductions. And what this allows is, smaller lots, clustered development, which is important for this site. It does expand and widen towards the western side of the site. And so with these deviations, I will note density is still met on this site for the proposed zoning district. And one thing we wanted to maintain were the perimeter setbacks from the single family homes to the north and the south. So we did preserve a 20-foot setback. There's no reduction allowed or requested on those setbacks. And the final note I'll make is with the PUD, we also have a private street, so that allowed reduced right-of-way width, but it does have a fire truck turnaround and meet other maneuverability requirements for fire. So with that, we are recommending approval of alternative 1, which is the approval of the rezoning on first hearing, which is accompanied by the preliminary plat to create these homes on individual lots, and then the major site development plan, which shows, the layout, that it meets the PUD standards. I'm happy to take any questions, and I also have architectural drawings we can look at.
Thanks, Amelia. Questions for staff or discussion?
I have one question, and that is, given the 4-1 deliberation by P&Z, was that one dissenting vote because of a perception that a 12-unit proposal was not compatible with this site? Or were there other reasons for dissenting?
I don't think he didn't speak to the motion, so I can't put words in his mouth of why he voted no.
Other questions? All right, I declare the public hearing on this item to be open. I have one person who signed up, and others can come after that, and that Donna Fenneman. You're welcome to come up and state your name, and you may offer your comments.
Hi, my name is Donna.
Would you mind pulling the mic down? Sorry, thank you.
Thanks. Hi, is this okay? My name is Donna Fenema. I live on Valentine Drive, and that's directly behind this Harrison Point development. We've lived there almost 11 years. And so the back of our house would face the back of these 2 3-plexes that they're planning on developing. And so that's what we would see. First, I'd like to begin by apologizing for not being able to attend the first few meetings that they had regarding this. We were in Chicago taking care of grandkids, so I didn't get to see that. We were here at the last planning and zoning meeting, so I'm a bit late in getting my concerns in. In the last meeting, we were told that the property was sold for $1 to this Keystone Equity Group. And one of my questions were, we were told that the other local builders turned down this project. I have followed up with some of these builders and was informed that some of them were not contacted at all. So I contacted them, and 2 of the major contractors that I asked turned down this project because they both felt that that was not in the best interest of the neighborhood. I would like to ask why our city felt it was necessary to go outside to find a contractor. What is Keystone going to offer our community when they are done? Our contractors give back. We have Hunsaker Youth Sports Complex, Furman Aquatic Center, Friedrich Pitch Mini Soccer Court, and Prairieland Homes, Clark Builders, Ames Home Builders Association all give back, even to both the Ames and Gilbert school districts building trades programs. Where are we going to see anything from Keystone in our community when they're all done? That's one of my questions. One of my next questions is the length of the driveway in the townhouse unit number 3. From what I can tell, the length of their driveway is 17 feet, and the codes in the city is 20 feet for a 2-car garage. So I'm not sure how that fits. That was one of my questions. Is that a problem? And another question is the distance between the two threeplex townhomes that back up to the railroad. In the last meeting, we were told that they would only be about 28 feet from the railway. And so I did some research that completely going through the railway through Ames regarding all the homes that back up to it. There are 186 total properties along this railway in Ames. And the closest road to those tracks was 30.48 feet. And that is a home on 1520 Ridgewood Avenue. And that home was built in 1948, 78 years ago. Excuse me. This information is per Beacon Snyder Corp website partial mapping. And I think our builders and city planners have learned a lot in the past 78 years that building this close to the tracks is not the best idea. What if a train should derail? A lot of these trains carry ethanol. So that's a concern. Another question that I have is the affordability that they talk about for this housing. Who keeps track of this? So when it's done, who keeps track of that? Is the housing built? Does it stay at affordable prices after they're done? Who watches that when it's done? And finally, a question I have is they're going to build, are they going to put a tree barrier behind those two threeplexes? Is there going to be anything there? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Anybody else? All right, we will close the public hearing, and Kelly or Amelia, there's no more questions that were asked. First question, length of driveway 17 feet and 20 foot is
Yep. So that's,
can you comment on that, please?
I can. So lot 3 is this lot on the curve. Half the
I'm
drive,
not sure that people can only see which one is that now.
it's on the north side of the street.
Okay, there. Thank you.
So half the driveway is at 17 and a half feet due to the curb. So that's about 9 feet of driveway at that 17 and a half feet. The rest of the driveway, the other 9 feet, is at 20 feet. So that allows a car to park. They do meet minimum parking requirements, as that is a unit with a 2-car garage. And there is no sidewalk on that side of the street, so it does not pose an issue for pedestrian traffic. So that's why we're recommending approval of that deviation.
Rear setback, why so close?
Yep. So that, I think we talked kind of about how the site widens to the back, how we're clustering homes here. And really what that comes down to is maintaining those perimeter setbacks from the north and the south. So with meeting the 20-foot setbacks from the north and the south, we had to shift the homes farther to the west, or the other option was to reduce the size of the by-attached units. They're about 1,400 square feet. That doesn't include the unfinished basement or the garage, but that was the choice. And so what you see is the result of fitting the units onto the site. I will point out the other answer to that question about the tree barrier. So after the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the developer did amend the landscape plan to add 7 trees on the far rear property line between those units and the railway. And that was really done for the residents of those units, because they are on such small lots. They don't actually own to the railroad property, so they wouldn't be able to plant their own landscaping there. So the developer did add trees so that we did have some buffer for those residents.
So this is, as the speaker indicated, along a railroad track, setbacks how are they determined, and do adjacent pieces of property impact that decision?
So the required setbacks, 20 feet. So they exceed that. It was just, to have a greater setback would have required a reduction in size of the units.
I guess I was trying to tease out was that whether that's an industrial plant, a railroad, or something else, the setbacks are really specific just to the site itself and don't take into consideration adjacent property use. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. We don't have a special setback for when you're on a railroad property.
And affordability, is there anything in the developer agreement that?
Yes. So the developer agreement will have a sales price cap, an initial sales price cap that isn't before you tonight. That will be coming with the final plat at the end of February.
I think she asked who keeps track of it once it's built and sold. What happens after that? Is there any tracking of that or not?
It's a state program. It's not a local program. And as far as I understand, there is, and maybe the applicant could respond, they've taken advantage of the tax credits before, they might be able to respond to that. My understanding, or is it necessarily any ongoing tracking by the state?
Okay. And then selecting a developer does not comment with the last question she had, or the first question she posed was developer giving back to the community.
So I think,
I mean, that's a critique of a business. I don't think we have any comments. in
Right.
regards to that.
yeah.
I mean, the point is, the selection of the developer was not contingent upon whether they were.
No, if you recall, we approved, or city council approved in, I think, 2024, an RFP. I sent that to maybe 24 people and made the Home Builders Association aware of it. No one responded to that. So a year later, almost a year later, this builder was aware of the site through efforts of the AADC, and they came forward and said, if there's no other proposal, we would do 12 units and take advantage of the workforce housing tax credit program to build workforce housing. So that's how we got to where we are. The RFP a year ago or year and a half ago never set a minimum sales price for the lot. It just said, please make a proposal. We would consider offering the lot for low or no cost, depending on what the proposal was that came forward.
And I mean, just from our perspective on council, I think we had this RFP, no one responded. And then this Keystone Group has had successful developments in neighboring communities, and they've shown they're really committed to the area. They would love to be a player in Ames. And, I guess for one, I can't speak for the rest of council, but I kind of welcome a little bit more competition in that realm in Ames. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think it's healthy to have that competition. And so I was happy to see another group that has a little more experience in this scale of housing enter our market, because I think the players we have currently in the building world, maybe just this is not their typical model, perhaps. And not to say that they wouldn't be capable of it or anything like that, but it is what Keystone does, and they've done it really successfully in neighboring communities. So I do think they're here to stay, and I think they will be a valuable addition in Ames. So.
Very good.
I wanted to comment on just appreciating, Donna, the work that you did to sort of help us think through these different factors. It was a lot of work to come up with 186 houses adjoining the railroad. That took a few minutes to do. And so you've been a good advocate for your position. In the prior meeting, we had a very robust public input session where people were very articulate about the frustration of losing a green space that had become sort of a quasi park for them. And so none of us takes that lightly. I think good council members will put themselves in the situation of people who are affected by the decisions that we make. And so we have to think about the benefit of a project like this for the whole community, that it's balanced against the implications for the neighborhood. And finally, the other thing I would say is that Ames is very blessed to have 41 parks. And so even though the neighborhood loses a green space that it had come to utilize, the good news is we happen to be in a city that's very, very well served by a ton of green space. In fact, we're one of the top cities in the country for green space per resident. And so, but I just wanted to thank you for the thoughtfulness and the time you spent into helping us make a good decision tonight.
All right, staff provided 4 different alternatives. Is there a motion on one of those alternatives?
Move alternative 1.
Thank you. And would you just summarize in general what that is?
Approve the Harrison Point proposal first reading on suburban residential low density, the major site development plan, and preliminary plat.
Thank you. It was moved and seconded. Roll call.
Junk.
Aye.
Corriere. Rollins.
Aye.
Beatty Hansen.
Aye.
Garten.
Aye.
Betcher.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 30, resolution approving preliminary plan specifications for the resource recovery recycling campus.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Tonight, you have before you request to approve the preliminary plans and specifications for the resource recovery and recycling campus. Typically, these plans are approved via consent agenda item, but tonight, because of the scale of this project and the last time we were in front of you was November 25th, we wanted to lay out a little bit of what's changed since you last saw the project and give you an opportunity to at least ask any questions before we request final approval of the plan specifications. So November 25th, we had 60% design plans in front of you. At that point in time, we continued to work through this design process. Since that time, there's been an incredible amount of effort and energy by the HDR engineering, Story Construction, and many of the staff up here, along with others in the city here to get us to this point. So we started down this path in June of 2025 when we did a preliminary design proposal for what the site might look like, and we've continued today to the preliminary plan set here. So on the screen, I'll just flip through a couple images that were in your packet. I just want to make sure everyone has a general idea of what we're looking at here. See if I can get my laser pointer to work. In general, the site layout is the same as what you saw in November. Some of the key changes are right here where I'm circling, where we will have customers drop solid waste outside the plant in a Z-wall configuration. This is very typical in transfer stations and other landfills. It's very customer convenient. There's a lot of space to be utilized to drop off your solid waste, and then it's easy for our staff to pull those into the transfer station itself. And the other major change that council will see here is we've pulled some of the yard waste in closer to the facility here, trying to eliminate a little bit of paving, looking for ways to make sure we're being cost conscious in what we're doing on the site. This is the plan view of the transfer station floor itself. So if we recall, these are the doors that come in. This is where the packer trucks will come in with the solid waste. They will dump it in this area here, and they will exit out this direction. The transfer tunnel is up at top. That's still the same as we showed you in November. The biggest change that you'll see here is, if you recall in November, we had plans for a compactor with the waste. We sent staff, Mark Peebler, the resource recovery superintendent, is here with us tonight. He and the assistant superintendent went out to the Oregon where they make these compactors and actually saw one. We visited with that staff out there, and what we realized is that this is probably not going to be something that's going to save us any money. And so it was really good to go out and see that. And there's two factors. One is we're not going to get a lot of liquid that comes out of this like we thought we would initially. And the other problem is there are bridges that are embargoed between here and Carroll that we have to go over. So we're limited on how much weight we can actually put on the trailers. So after learning all that and after touching that piece of equipment, that has been removed. And so what you see now is a primary shredder, a magnet to take out ferrous metal, and then our eddy current system to take out our non-ferrous metal. And then your waste will be deposited up here, manually put into the transfer trailers. These are overall site plans of the office building. They're kind of hard to see, I realize, but this was an area we spent a lot of time with the existing resource recovery staff. We had, I believe, 3 or 4 specific meetings with them where we walked through every piece of this project and spent a lot of time on what the locker room space looks like. What is a break room space?
Can you, is it possible to enlarge that for people who might be wanting to see it either online or not?
I can give it a shot here. Let me get out of this real fast here. Let me try this. It might get a little grainy on us here.
Thank you.
Yes. So this is the first floor. Oops, I thought I had it. This is the first floor. We have a maintenance area. We have break rooms for staff and locker rooms with showers. This is your mechanical, electrical space, fire risers, and then reception area that's the main floor there. And then as I scroll down here to the second floor, if council recalls, we had proposed a 2-story office building to help see into the transfer station itself to help with the operations. That operations room is up here in the center. It has some windows that are on 2 sides so they can see what's going on. Through some design development, we're able to get some access via stairways from that area up to the upper floors where the superintendent and assistant superintendent offices are. We also have the education area, which we'll look at a really closer view of that, some renderings. That's a big part of what we do at the Resource Recovery Center, is really work on that education, especially as we move towards recycling and different ways of using the waste. It's important that we have those available to us. I'm going to stay on this view here because this might be beneficial. The next area we'll look at here is just some section views of what the process equipment looks like inside. Again, this is conceptual layouts, because what we've got is we have a performance specification that says the shredder needs to do so many yards per hour, and the ferrous magnet needs to pull off so much metal when it passes through it. So these might change a little bit depending on how the layouts look, but in general, this picture down here in the bottom, this is where the shredder and conveyance system comes up. Then the drum magnet takes the ferrous metals off over to another conveyor to the eddy current system, and then deposits it back on the floor. But it's just a neat little view of what this might look like as you're looking south through the facility. I'll try to go back to the presentation here because I think this might be a little bit better. Continuing on, these are the exterior, the west and north elevations, what the building will look like from the outside. This one on top is the west elevation of the facility. This is the main door where you would come in right here in the middle. It's got some accent colors on it, just trying to give it a little bit architectural feel to break up just a basic metal building that way. This one on the bottom is on the north side as you're looking south. These are the main transfer doors where the trucks come in and out. And then the transfer tunnel is over here on the left side. We have the same thing on the east side, which is just a blank slate. There are no doors on that side of the facility other than exit doors for the tunnel for emergency response there. Then the south side of the facility has a number of doors, and these are where we service the roll-offs that are underneath the ferrous metal and non-ferrous metal collection systems, as well as some access to the shredding equipment on the south side there. Continue on, these are some isometric views, so some 3D view, what you might look like from an angle. So just give you an idea of what the facility overall looks like. And then finally, the engineer was able to put together some renderings for us of what the education spaces might look like. And this is just an example of some chairs in there, but we plan to have tables and chairs and places where we can host groups of citizens and a lot of school groups come to see what we do. We can look out onto the floor this way, and we can show videos of what goes on, and really look to highlight the legacy that we've had for the past 50 years and look at the new process going forward and how we're continuing with that. So with that, that's what I had for the presentation tonight, but we have a set of plans and specifications in front of you for approval. This will be put in 11 separate bid packages. Each bid package has its own completion dates and some intermediate milestones. We have liquidated damages that apply if the contractor takes too long amongst those. And then we've also incentivized a few key packages that are on the critical path of this project. This has a very tight time frame, as we know, with our agreement ending with Boone County on July 1st of 27. And we also know the implications. The sooner we move forward and we can get off of the waste to energy system, that has larger impacts to the electric utility and the rest of Ames citizens as well. So we've really looked to incentivize and move this forward in the fastest way possible. This has been a large effort of it's a 9-month in general design development, and we've pushed it together in about 4 or 5 months. But we've done a really good job of hitting marks and doing our double checks where it's necessary. So I don't want to feel like it's rushed. We spent a lot of time making sure we've got it done right. But we have this together for you council tonight, so we're looking for approval of the plans and specifications, and happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Justin. Questions?
I had a question just to touch on this picture that's here about the education room. Do you plan to, so you mentioned educating people about the plant we had and, sort of how we've come so far, but also how, basically a history of the old resource recovery plant and its transition to this new one. Will you save physical elements too from the old plant, or sometimes I see in certain, maybe it's the electrical plant where there's old electrical equipment, but are there pieces that you think how do you intend to preserve that history, I guess, is a question.
I think I'll answer a little bit of that, and maybe let Mark talk too. I think in general, yes. There'll be parts and pieces. There will be images. There will be, there's already things in the plant that are 50 years old that really go back to when it started. And I think that's the whole goal with this is how do we get through this process? How, honoring the past that we've done and taking that expertise and continue in the future, because we have been leaders in solid waste for a long time and we want to continue to be that. So I don't know what pieces exactly we will take over there, but I think it's something that we will absolutely look for and try to make the most use of that space to do that. Now, Mark, you have anything to add to that? Or
So there is a plaque on the exterior of the building when you walk in on the west side that we plan on taking as well for the Arnold Chantlin resource recovery plan. Currently, we have the control board that we had in there that we pulled out when we upgraded to PLCs in 2009. So we've got that currently in the conference room or the visitor center. So I think that would be a good piece to take with us to be able to exhibit that. And then there's a lot of pictures and documentation that we could put out there as well.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, just kind of curious. I thought that was an interesting idea. And I had heard that Mr. Chantlin just recently passed away, was it?
he did,
So-
unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how we honor that legacy a bit.
Yes.
So thank you.
Other questions?
I have a question about the west elevation. I seem to recall when we saw this last time, there was some discussion about what I think of as the rocket ship on the south end that's sticking out of the building. And I was under the impression that we might be trying to not have that. What is that? And is it going to go away at some point, or is it now a permanent element?
It is part of the design. It is the air handling unit, so the HVAC for the entire building. So we did bring that up to our engineer, and we looked at different ways of doing it. While going through that process, we realized this was the most cost-effective way to do this. So we're trying to be cost-conscious of it. But I think it's important to realize too, it doesn't show up well in this elevation view, but that will be behind a fence and screening. So you won't be seeing that necessarily from the public. From their side of it. However, it is accessible from the backside of the plant there.
I think it has good potential to be a public art element painted as a rocket ship.
Possibly, yes.
But the other question I have is related to the resident drop-off area. So that first schematic you showed us. Am I right in thinking that those islands were originally in that rectangle right there? And now they've moved over
Which islands are you referring to?
where the cursor is right now.
So where the
Those
garbage
things.
Yes, so originally these were intended to be in here with the recycling, and the challenge with that is we tend to get more refuse than we do recycling. It's just by volume that's what you're going to get. So we're accessing those a lot more than we are needing to pull out the recycling containers at any one time. These right here that'll be solid waste, they will probably be switched out once or twice a day. And that's intentional to ensure that we don't have this stuff blowing around. It's not outside by itself. The recycling is more enclosed. And so in order to us not to continually block this customer service area while we're trying to do that, we thought it best to move these here. And it's kind of a best industry practice to use this Z-wall in order to take care of solid waste. So yes, those did move from this area over to here.
So now do we have more space for the recycling in that area?
Yeah, we've freed up a little bit more space in the customer convenience area for the recycling, for seasonal kinds of things like Christmas tree drop off or pumpkin disposal or things like that might be occurring. The other piece is that with the Z-wall, it allows multiple vehicles to pull right up to be unloading at the same time, which does occur from time to time at resource recovery where we've got a backup, and this allows those vehicles to simultaneously use it and to get out of each other's way and move along once they're done, rather than being stuck in a single file line.
And where do we have the household hazardous waste drop off on this?
See this rectangle right here? So this is that same white container that we have right now at Resource Recovery. We're planning to move that. It's modular, move it right to there, and then it'll be right outside the entry doors and near the transfer station, so it can be serviced for customers.
Thanks.
Other questions?
So I'm going to go really fast. These are some issues that we talked through in the initial pass, and maybe there was some further refinement of these things. I love this. I want to be supportive, but this is a big project, so I'll go really fast. So did we change anything on parking? That was a question I raised, making sure there was adequate parking for both employees and gas people coming for educational components. Did we have any further thoughts on parking?
So as you see, our parking area is limited up front, and there's some challenges that we have in order to expand this parking. Once we get into expanding it much more than it is right now, then we get into the necessary fire truck turnaround inside that parking lot. And what you're not seeing on this slide right here is the stormwater. That's basically any area this white that's not taken up with some sort of paving is actually a stormwater feature. So we've got parking space for our staff. We have a few left over for visitors to the site. We also have some options back up here where we do park some of the trailers and stuff like that. We have talked about if we start seeing that we need more parking areas, we can utilize some of our staff parking to move out of that front of office. So that way we can have more room for customers as they come in there. We also talk through like tours and buses and things like that. And that's the reason you're seeing a sidewalk come right here. We would have buses come, bring in the tour groups or the children, for example, there, and they can get out this way. Then the buses can turn around and actually stage here and wait for them to come back out. So we had some separate parking at one time, but as we, again, try to look for some of the fitting everything on the sites, things got a little bit tight there.
Okay, that's very helpful. And I realize that some of these things we may be changing once everything's in place for a few years. Traffic flow, I tortured you a little bit about just making sure that we'd modeled the traffic flow. And you had indicated you had done some modeling of this. Any changes on traffic flow of trucks?
No, there's been no changes since we saw the initial plan.
And then remind me, so this facility is sized with what population of community? I mean, is there sort of a range that this will take care of us up to a certain population?
Yeah, so when we did the initial conceptual design, we designed over the next 20 years for this site. So it has in it a growth factor of how much waste we think would process. I believe we are currently around 54,000 tons of solid waste right now, and that grows up to 78,000 tons in 20 years. So this facility is designed to handle 78,000 tons without any modifications.
And I apologize, I can't correlate that into population. So and again, this is sort of a rough approximation, but are we saying this is a facility for 100,000 people, 90,000 people? What can you give us just sort of a range?
I believe they had, and I don't have it in front of me, like 1.25% growth, which was pretty consistent with Story County over the past. I don't remember how long they look back. Past recent history is that they're looking at slow and steady growth of Story County residents, and so that's what it's.
1.5 a year. You mean?
Yes, 1.5 a year.
Yeah. Tim, what's critical is the facility is not designed to store solid waste long term, right? We're in the business now of getting the solid waste tipped onto the floor, processed, put into trucks, and moved along on a fairly quick turnaround. So the real constraint there is our ability to truck the material, to get it into a truck and to get it to the landfill. And so we're planning on a number of trucks and trailers to be able to handle that. As we grow and see additional waste coming in, the first impact that we're going to see is just needing to add more trucks, trailers, and drivers.
So and I don't want to spend all this time on this, but just real fast, we could increase capacity by adding a second shift, for example. I'm trying to understand that the trash trucks are only working during certain time frames. So even though we could run a second shift, trash trucks have some certain limitations. So I'm just trying to understand, we're building this for a population up to, that was just what I was trying to, maybe we don't have that.
I don't remember what the population was built for, but we know that currently, we know the county population is just a shade under 100,000. We had HDR incorporate assumptions for the growth based on Ames Plan 2040 and our other historical metrics for growth, and then an adjustment for what they're seeing in the waste disposal trends, on a per person basis, how much are people throwing away that we will need to handle. And they size this facility for 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Based on those metrics.
And I'm supportive of this. In our planning horizon, 20 years seems really tight. I mean, so we normally think about larger infrastructure, water, sewer, electrical. We have to think in terms of larger horizons. So I'm already just a tad nervous that if we grew faster than anticipated, we're going to be quickly compressing that.
So
I'm just making that
one
comment.
other thing to help reassure you. So when we had the initial conceptual design, that assumed a tipping floor that I believe is smaller than what we are anticipating now. We've made some adjustments over this more detailed design period that have enlarged the capacity of the tipping area by moving equipment out of the way, by getting the car line out of the building and outside instead of dedicating a large chunk of real estate in the building to vehicle travel. Right? We're not going to have cars go into the building. We're only having commercial haulers. So that's an entire area that we can dedicate to operations instead of vehicle movement.
Okay.
So we have expanded the size of the facility compared to even the assumptions that we had at the time that the
I'm still just trying to get my brain on 20 years. Okay, I go fast. I wanted to thank you for the attention on the educational component really fast. I think compliance is going to be really hard. We just don't have a lot of sticks to require compliance. And so this is new for our community. We're going to be looking at a variety of different approaches. But honestly, getting the kids to embrace that this is something we do, that will be huge to help families shift towards this kind of separation of recyclables and trash. So I appreciate very much your attention to that. I asked before about odor containment. And where are we in terms of, are there any improvements to this facility in terms of odor containment? Mark, anyone?
No, there's nothing really for odor containment. So with this new facility, the material is going to come in and it's going to go out. So our current facility, depending on how much material we're able to process throughout a day, and the RDF bins. So part of that, we have material that could be sitting there for 1, 2, 3 weeks before we get all the way back to the back wall to clear it out. So that's some of the odor issues that we have now. We've got rapid closing doors to where the trucks come in. I think it's like 40 to 100 inches per second that those doors are opening and closing. So with that, the material is going to be sitting out there very minimal time before it's moving out, and we're not going to store it there.
That's exactly what I needed. Thank you for that. I asked Brian in our pre-meeting about whether the agreements with the 11 contractors would have an attorney fees provision. Were you able to confirm that?
I was not.
Okay. And that's not a today thing, but it would be helpful if we could have that.
Yeah, we can look into that.
And sometimes when we have big projects, we have preliminary conversations with contractors. This is a very, very tight turnaround project. And I'm curious, Justin, if you had conversations with contractors who would likely to bid, to ask them about their input on how we put together the bid projects.
Yeah, I personally have not, but that's where we really leverage Story Construction. So Story has those contacts for us, and they have worked with a number of contractors already to look at our preliminary plan sets and talk about how would we build this. And that's where some of that work really comes through in the value engineering of saying we need to make sure it looks a certain way so that way it's more constructible for the contractors when they get it there. So that's one of the big things that Story Construction has done for us. They've kind of vetted a lot of that stuff out, and they have contacts in the construction industry already ready to bid on these. There's a lot of excitement about it, according to them, and I tend to believe them that there's a lot of contractors excited to bid on this project.
I really appreciate that. Final question. I asked about compost before. It's sort of a pet project for me. Remind me where we're doing compost in this facility, or is it somewhere else?
It's not in this facility currently. So the challenge with what we've got going on right now is really trying to get this facility up and running. We don't really have room for composting currently. So what I'd recommend is we get this facility up and running, get the solid waste moving, and then we do have some options on other land adjacent to this that I would recommend, if that's a way that council wants to go, that we look at pursuing those, and then we can start to build that into there. It's the kind of the next step, I think, that we get through to this.
So once this new facility is built, then will we stop receiving compost, or will there just be somewhere else? I apologize, I missed this.
You're talking the food waste diversion right now?
Mhm.
Yeah, so we still have the food waste diversion bin that's out there, and that would still be processed. But right now, that is processed by a third party. Okay, so a company comes in, takes the food waste diversion bin, they take it away, and they take care of it.
So that's my question. Is the bin going to be at that facility or somewhere else?
It'll be here. It'll be here. It'll be out here
Sorry.
in this
At that-
recycling area.
Here is at that facility?
Yes.
Okay, that's
Sorry,
fine.
I realize I'm looking here and not.
We had
Yeah.
also talked about, as a next step, talking about putting bins in other places. I mean, nothing confirmed there, but that would be like a medium.
Right.
The biggest challenge with food waste diversion is contamination. It gets extremely contaminated quick. The good thing about this new facility is this will be a little bit more. It's behind a fence. It won't be open 24/7, to where we get a lot of contamination in that food waste. So we can probably control that a little bit more, because when it's contaminated, it has to go as solid waste. It's no longer composted. It's put right on the tipping floor and taken to the landfill that way.
Right. I mean, so that's we spent so much time talking about this. I mean, even my own family, we've changed the way we put food waste. We don't put it in the regular trash anymore. So I want to make sure that we understand this and that we've got a plan for the community. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to divert much of our food waste still from going over to Carroll.
Mm-hmm. I agree, because that's a lot of organic. That's a lot of water weight, and that's very heavy. And so if we continue to see that growth, and it'll push us into that even quicker, I think, to make sure we have a more solution for that on site rather than just having someone take it off.
Other questions? The trash drop off, those two bins, are those open on top, or are they going to be enclosed?
Generally, those containers are open.
Okay. Mark, you see a lot of people driving up to drop off trash into the floor, and also I think many of us, if not all of us, go there to drop off recycle stuff. Are you comfortable with the amount of maneuvering space and pavement in front? I don't want to see bottlenecks, and just paving is expensive, but it's a lot cheaper initially.
Yeah, so
I'm thinking people coming with trailers, or other things that all of a sudden they get crosswise in terms of parking, and then all of a sudden you got this bottleneck. So I was just curious. You've looked at it. You know how this operates. What's your comfort level?
So we definitely get bottlenecks at the current facility because most of those trailers are going through the same space as what the car line is. With this new facility and the inbound outbound scales, we can divert the trucks with the larger trailers on them through the tipping floor, run them through that way, because generally they take up a lot more space. So then really what we envision on this side would just be the regular residential trash that would be coming through and being dropped off in there. And there's enough space there to where people can pull up right next to it or back up to it and still be able to get out. And then on the recycling side, with single stream curbside collection started or being implemented, that should greatly reduce the amount of traffic that's going through that lane for the recycling drop off.
Forgot about that. Good, very good point. Okay. Any other questions? Thanks for the presentation. We'll open up public comment. Anyone want to address council on this topic tonight? Close public input. Is there a motion on one of the alternatives?
Move alternative one.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Corriere. Rollins.
Aye.
Beatty Hansen.
Aye.
Garten.
Aye.
Betcher.
Aye.
Junk.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good work, guys.
We'll move on to item number 31, modifications to municipal code, garbage and refuse.
So on a related topic, we're bringing to the city council some modifications to municipal code. And at the end of this discussion, we'd like to ask the council to consider approval on first reading of the ordinance making modifications to Chapter 10, which addresses how garbage and refuse are handled and stored and managed, and then also establishing the authority to implement a residential curbside recycling program. I'll walk through just briefly some of the modifications. They're detailed for you more in the staff report. A large part of the modifications that we're asking for are simply to modernize this chapter. There are a variety of weight limits and capacity limits and collection requirements that date back to quite some time ago when the process for collecting solid waste was quite different than it is today, where now we have a lot more automated collection equipment out in the community. So we're asking for those standards to be revised. And in addition, we're asking for the creation of a definition for recyclable materials, and then for those materials to be treated in this chapter in a way that addresses how they're to be stored and collected and processed. The second key part of the modifications that we're asking for are related to establishing the residential curbside recycling program. So the council may recall that back in August, we presented the city council with options related to various models for how curbside recycling can occur. And you'll remember that this is important because as we move away from the waste to energy system, a lot of our landfill diversion efforts will be going away. We have historically relied on the processes in place at Resource Recovery to remove recyclable metals and to convert a large portion of the remaining materials to fuel for the power plant. With that process going away, we need to work to divert these materials from the landfill in a different way, and curbside recycling is the most effective manner or the most effective approach to be able to do that. So in August, we presented you with the various models. In September, we issued a survey which received over 1,500 responses from community members about how they would like to see curbside recycling work and what their concerns and comments were. And then in November, we followed back up with the city council with that feedback, and the council directed us to pursue a recycling RFP. So the direction that the council provided at that time was that you wanted universal access to the recycling service, that all eligible households receive a cart and they're charged for the service. You asked us to solicit proposals for a single citywide recycling provider. That process is underway. We have received proposals and we're in the process of evaluating them right now. We would have a city-owned contractor provided cart for the community with every other week service and uniform cart size out in the community. So what we're bringing to you tonight is the outline for the authority to create the curbside recycling program. The specifics of how that service will be delivered. We are, as I mentioned, we're still going through the evaluation process in the RFP, and we need to negotiate with the contractor that we select and bring a contract to the city council that will outline the expectation in terms of exactly when the material will be picked up, what the fee is, and all the other details that we'll need to know as we implement a curbside recycling program. So the contract information, we expect to know that and know the fee around the time that the council would have third reading of this ordinance that simply creates the authority to implement curbside recycling. One option, if the council would like some more time for the community to digest what that all means, is that in February, at the second meeting in February, second regular meeting rather, we can bring to the council the contract and explain what those details are for curbside recycling, and we can take a moment to then have an education blitz out to the community and inform them of all these specific details that we will only know at that time once the hauler is identified, and then ask the council to approve third reading and the contract at the first meeting in March. So you have a few weeks to be able to get the education out there, have an understanding amongst the community members about what the implications are of this service. So at this time, however, we're asking if you would consider approval of the ordinance on first reading, and we'll bring those details back to you at a later date.
Can you go back just a couple questions? Would you just kind of highlight what are some of the specifics that you might be negotiating with contractors, because we got some communication, raising some points, and would those be covered?
Yeah, so the key one is really the price, right? So the contractors that have submitted proposals have indicated what their anticipated costs are for the service. What we need to do is of course, those are all different for each contractor. So once we identify which contractor we want to recommend through our evaluation process, what we need to do is take that pricing and we need to put it into a model that the finance department will help us with to evaluate. We need to incorporate all the cost for the hauling that the contractor is going to charge us. We also need to know, we need to plug in some assumptions for the cost of disposal of the material that's collected, and then the additional administrative overhead that is related to providing the program. There's a small amount that we'll charge to customer service because we were going to be placing this on utility bills, and we're going to have staff that are going to be answering questions and things like that. So once we plug in all of those potential expenses, then we will be able to identify what the monthly per household charge needs to be in order to pay for the program. And we'll be able to present it to you at that time.
Are there other things in the contract that you're negotiating besides just the price?
Yes, we're working on, there are details about certain customer service issues that might arise and exactly how, what things the hauler is willing to do or not willing to do in the contract to serve the customer. We need to feel those out with the selected contractor so that we can communicate that with the public.
So the email that we received today, those kind of things we are already being talked about or will be talked about. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
In the specific one, just so if anyone's watching at home, the question was, I think the one you're referring to was about if people maybe who have mobility issues, or for those who are elderly and or have mobility issues, if there would be a provision where the service provider might be able to walk up and get their bin, perhaps not from the curb. Anyway, thank you.
Right.
There may be some other accommodations as well too, that, and they may already be offering that even in solid waste services too. But
right, that's the kind of thing that we need to talk to the hauler about. It's the kind of thing that would be in a contract. It probably wouldn't be appropriate to place it in the ordinance because it's a contractual service, really. So those are the types of details we need to sort out.
And there was a concern about just the fee, and you gave in the staff report a general number, right?
So we believe
previously.
Yes, we're very confident that the fee would be less than $10 per household per month. We are optimistic that it will be significantly less than that, but I don't want to speak prematurely.
Point being is that one of the questions was raised also in this email was how can we give input if we don't know what the costs are going to be? And the point is that's still in negotiation, but you previously quoted or gave an idea of what it might be, and you're seeing favorable responses. And so the point is it's not going to be, it's not anticipated to be higher than what you quoted previously, but actually lower and maybe even significantly lower.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Other questions?
One last question from that email that email generated was about the definition of food waste diversion, basically. Right now, the definitions of refuse, they felt that what was being proposed would keep food waste or compost in the refuse category. So what I'm asking is if in the future we are looking to divert food waste more, should we not now carve out a separate definition for it rather than coming back and doing that in a year when we decide we want to make that more clear?
So the way the definitions work in this section of the code, they're really about identifying what you're not allowed to mix into other things. So you're not allowed to mix refuse and garbage with recyclables. You're not allowed to mix those things with yard waste. Food waste, I think even if we identify that as something that we want to have a service to separately collect it and things like that, at the moment, the best place that we have for it, if it's not going to be voluntarily removed, is to leave it in garbage and to landfill it. That's the appropriate place. For it. So I don't feel strongly that we need to carve it out and define it right now, unless you want to direct people that they can't put it somewhere.
Well, I was just thinking we might want to do that in the future. We might want to direct them that they can't put it somewhere. Now, we're not ready to do that now, but I figured maybe it would just save us time in the future to define it separately. But if you don't think it needs to happen now, I don't feel strongly either. I mean, I think we are working towards encouraging people to do that. And that was kind of the person's point in the email, I think, so.
Thank you. Other questions?
Brian, in our prior meeting, you talked about the efforts to reach out to contractors. Just say a word about this, because I was super encouraged by the effort that went on to engage with our trash haulers to be a part of this conversation. Could you just give us a couple sentences on that?
Yeah, we've and Justin can speak to this too. We've talked to the haulers. Right now, there are not a lot of haulers that offer recycling service. I believe there's only 2 in the community right now who offer recycling as a service. That's simply because there's not a great place to take it that's convenient, and because it's not widely demanded by people because of our waste to energy system. Some of the haulers that we've engaged with who have had strong feelings about maintaining open collection for solid waste have indicated that they think that a single hauler for recycling makes a lot of sense, because not a lot of them are providing it right now. My impression of the hauling community is that they're comfortable with us proceeding with this. Another component is that some of the smaller haulers in particular that don't offer curbside recycling, I don't think have, in many cases, either the interest or the capability to provide it if we were to require that as a service that they provided. Let's say as a condition of being able to provide garbage service, they had to provide curbside recycling. I think that might be a challenge for some of them, simply because of their staffing, their size, their equipment that they have available. So it appears that there's some pretty good support for proceeding with a single hauler contract to provide this service.
I appreciate the proactive efforts you've made to reach out to trash haulers. They're important stakeholders. They do an important service in our community, and it represents our values well to engage with them and get their input. So thank you for that.
All right, we'll open public comment. Is there anyone who wants to address council
Mayor, you
on?
also have a question. I think.
No. We will
I have
postpone
one.
opening up the public comment.
When Anita's done, I have 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so just on the penalties for offenses, can you speak a little bit about within the ordinance how you set those and how we anticipate that will be done, or are we ready to discuss that yet?
Those penalties are the existing ones that have been in the ordinance in this chapter of municipal code for quite some time. I don't know that we had strong feelings about identifying an alternative to them, so we didn't really focus on those too much, other than ensuring that it was that it incorporated, recycling related issues. Enforcement, this is one of many areas of municipal code that can be a challenge to enforce. I think we would rely on our working with the contractor that we identify, working with resource recovery, working with public works, working with the city attorney's office to address enforcement when the need arises. Like all of our nuisance related kind of enforcement efforts, our focus really is on compliance and education. We want to see the process work rather than try to penalize people. I sense that we will handle this on a complaint basis, on the basis of working with the departments that are involved to try to resolve whatever issue might arise.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Gloria?
So in looking at this tonight, I noticed a couple of scrivener's errors, one of which I think changes the meaning a little bit, and I might be wrong about that. But in 10.18, frequency of collection, on page 402 of our packet, so the top of the second page, this is 1 time per week, except that in addition to a weekly collection, a licensed hauler may make arrangements or a special collection of garbage and refuse from the customer. Is that supposed to be for
Yes,
a special? Okay, so it's not 2 options there.
correct.
And the other error was in the 10.25 where we need an apostrophe instead of an equal sign in persons.
Okay, any other questions? Now we'll open up public comment. Does anyone want to address council on this topic tonight?
It's an artifact.
Seeing none, we'll close public input. Any closing questions or discussion? All right. Entertain a motion,
I would move alternative 1
Second.
which is
to approve the first reading of the attached ordinance modifying Chapter 10 of Ames Municipal Code and establishing a curbside residential recycling collection program.
Thank you, Bradley.
Is that with the corrections that were?
With the corrections that Gloria mentioned, the scrivener's errors.
Who seconded that? Is it Tim? You
Oh,
okay
yes,
with
of
that?
course.
All right.
Thank you.
Got it?
Yep.
All right. Roll call.
Rollins.
Aye.
Beatty Hansen.
Aye.
Garten.
Aye.
Betcher.
Aye.
Junk.
Aye.
Corriere.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, move on. Under 32, this item, the applicant has identified something that needs correction, so we're not going to proceed with third reading tonight. So entertain a motion to not proceed with third reading and hold a new public hearing on February 10th for a revised rezoning boundary.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Moving on, under 33, rezoning property at 200, 204, 210, 214, 220 Southeast 2nd, and 210 Sumner Avenue from highway oriented commercial to neighborhood commercial with master plan. Entertain motion and resolution approving rezoning agreement with master plan at 204 Southeast 2nd Street with KHDB Enterprises LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Beatty Hansen.
Aye.
Garten.
Aye.
Betcher.
Aye.
Junk.
Aye.
Corriere. Rollins.
Aye.
Entertain motion on third reading and adoption of ordinance number 4583 from highway oriented commercial to neighborhood commercial.
Move on third.
Second.
Roll call.
Garten.
Aye.
Betcher.
Aye.
Junk.
Aye.
Corriere. Rollins.
Aye.
Beatty Hansen.
Aye.
And item number 34, entertain motion on third reading and adoption of ordinance number 4584 modifying municipal code chapters 4 and 19 to address personal transportation devices.
Move on third.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Betcher.
Aye.
Junk.
Aye.
Corriere. Rollins.
Aye.
Beatty Hansen.
Aye.
Garten.
Aye.
Okay, we have 9 different dispositions and communications to council. The first is a request from Stephen Ann Bergeson regarding Ansley Development request for incentives. Is there an interest in moving forward with that, declining it, referring staff for a memo?
I think this is hard. When we approved the package of incentives, we were aware that once we approved this, that there would immediately be others subsequently that would make a very good and compelling case that they also should be included and receive additional incentives. And so I think this was inevitable. And I think council has to make a hard decision. Do we stay with our decision to work with the existing package, or do we start opening it? And as much as I, like Steve, we've already made some, I think the city has done some things to help that development, which I hope, and trust he appreciates. But my recommendation is that we sit tight on the improvements that we've been making, and in the future, we can come back and revisit it. But I think if once we start down this road, there'll be other developers who have good substantive arguments, but I don't know how we say no. It's hard.
Is there a motion?
Yep. So I move that we ask staff to write a letter explaining council's decision not to open the conversation for further incentives at this time.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Well said.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Motion carried. Second is a request for waiver of subdivision requirements from Brad McCartney, Story County property owner.
I would move we get a memo from staff.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Next is information about differentiating golf carts and low-speed vehicles from Todd Wilson, eZip, NZoom, licensed Iowa dealer. Is there an interest in working on changes to ordinance or declining his request or getting a memo?
I move that we send a letter of declining of interest.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Next is a request for right-of-way maintenance on North Grand from an Ames resident. I've been informed that the property in question is actually owned by the DOT. And so I would just ask for a motion that a letter be sent to him, letting them know that, and he can pursue that.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Next is a concern regarding flock cameras in Ames from Margava Malaya, Ames resident.
I think we've already had a response on this one, right?
Okay.
The
And
mayor.
if
Okay,
anything-
we'll double check. If not, we'll make sure that a response is given to him. Next is rental trash receptacle requirements. Sarah Van Metren gave us a memo. Steve, thanks. Oh, that was a really well-written memo. They followed up, and their recommendation is no action necessary at this time. Next is a device delivery seller permit memo from Chief Huff. Is there an interest to put this on a future agenda?
I would move we put it on a future agenda.
Second.
All right, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next is request for text amendments to Chapter 31 Historic Preservation Commission request memo from Kelly. Is there an interest on continuing discussion and putting it on a future agenda or not?
I would move we put it on a future agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the last item is a Ironwood woodlot renovation request from Jerry Goldsmith. Do you have any recommendation or suggestions, Steve, on this one?
I refer to staff. We'll get you an update on what we're doing on that project.
Move for a memo from staff.
Second.
All right, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Reports of governing bodies, Discover Ames.
I can start off and you can jump
Didn't
in.
we already give one?
Not on the last one, on the January 15th.
Oh, I could have sworn we did. Okay.
No. So, and you can jump in on this, Gloria. Hotel revenue is good. We approved a community grant procedure, which we didn't have before. Further discussion of the conference center. Those are the highlights for me. Gloria, anything else?
There was discussion about the fact that they are going to look at delaying any sort of capital campaign for the event center for 30 to 40 days to get more concrete information so that they know more about costs. And I think that's probably the most important thing.
Thank you. Alliance,
Meeting is
Airport.
this week, so we haven't met.
Story County Emergency Management Agency. We met last Wednesday night. Some virtual, some in person due to the weather. Talked about budget, approved a budget, had extensive conversation regarding renovations to the operations center in the basement. And we're probably going to be having additional meetings to talk about that. There's some, I think, mild disagreement on the commission board at this point in time in terms of the amount of money being spent on that. But the budget did get approved, and conversation will continue. Transit.
Yep, we met on the 15th, and everything we talked about was either at AMPO or on the consent agenda tonight.
Very good. Thank you. All right, move on to council comments. Emily, how are you doing?
I'm good, everyone. Thank you. So this Saturday is when the student government campaigns launch. Hard to believe it's already that time, but if you see any outreach, it might be from the people who are running for executive positions. And I don't know if they will or if they won't, because I'm not part of that at all. But then next we have in March on the 4th, the joint City Council Student Government meeting. That's at 5 p.m. in the Memorial Union Sunroom, and the Local Affairs Committee is working on the agenda for that right now. We're hoping to have that to you in the next 2 weeks. And then that's all I've got.
Thank you. Tim?
Two things. I want to give special kudos to the people that put on the MLK event. It was another packed crowd, and just pulled the community together at a time when I think we needed to be pulled together. So hats off to the team. Wanted to also, coming back to a proposal I made earlier about inviting the Ames School Board, and I think we said that we all should also ask Gilbert as well, just because they're in the city limits of Ames, to have a joint meeting with us. And I've got a list of the topics I can give the clerk, but would move that we invite the Ames and Gilbert school districts for a joint meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
That's it. Thanks.
You did? Anything else?
Nothing.
Robin, sorry.
I agree about the Dr. King program. Great. Also, the State of the Community program last week was wonderful, and Mayor did a great job there. And I just wanted to thank our staff, that the R3C, just for the thoughtfulness. All of our staff are amazing, but at this moment, their thoughtfulness as making sure that we have a facility that works well, but is cost effective, is really appreciated.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Amber?
Nothing for me.
Rachel?
Nothing tonight.
Gloria?
Any of you who might be interested in attending the International Town and Gown Association Conference, the deadline for the early bird registration rate, which is $200 saved, is this Saturday, the 31st. So if you're seriously considering going, it might be good to register. It is May 19th through the 22nd, so it's early this year, and it's in College Station, Texas. The other thing that I would like to applaud was the really well done State of the Community luncheon on Friday. I think that there were a lot of sentiments that I heard expressed that said, we live in a great place, and the people on that dais are working together to make Ames as good as it can possibly be in very trying economic times and socially divisive times. So thanks to all of the participants and to the sponsors for putting on a really good panel.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Well, thanks for those comments, and it's an honor to represent the council. This is an us, not a one-person situation, and I think that supervisors and the school board are all working together. So I would agree. It's so encouraging that people are working together and communicating. With that, we'll go on to item 36. Mark, does council have justification to go into closed session tonight?
Yes, Mayor, the council does. Iowa Code Section 21.51C allows the council to go into closed session to discuss matters in litigation or where litigation is imminent.
Thank you. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Junk.
Aye.
Corriere. Rollins.
Aye.
Beatty Hansen.
Aye.
Garten.
Aye.
Betcher.
Aye.
Thank you. In session? All right, is there a motion to approve settlement agreement with Rick Lowe in the amount of $100,000?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Rollins.
Aye.
Beatty Hansen.
Aye.
Garten.
Aye.
Betcher.
Aye.
Junk.
Aye.
Corriere.
Thank you. Before we adjourn, one point of clarification. The motion that we made to meet with Gilbert and with Ames, and you have a list of 8 items that you gave to the clerk.
That was not-
There may be 1 or 2 that are not agreeable to the school to talk about. Is your motion that all of these have to be included, or they're just suggested?
Oh, those were, yeah, I apologize. And part of my reason for not explicitly putting all those in is because I'm not trying to mandate those particular topics.
Okay. I just want to make sure I was clear, because we have a lunch meeting, our quarterly lunch meeting with Ames School. And we're going to communicate the motion to them on Friday. I want to make sure that there's not a stumbling block to that.
Oh, and I think that there may well be topics that I didn't consider that
Yeah,
they would
okay.
suggest.
So these are not part of the motion. They're just basically.
Oh, not set in stone.
Thank you. All right, very good. Thank you. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.